I should have realized something was amiss when my sister Catherine unexpectedly claimed she could finance her dream wedding. Just 4 months prior, she had been sobbing about finances, saying she would have to settle for a small ceremony in our backyard because she lacked the funds for anything else. Now she was organizing the most extravagant wedding our town had ever witnessed. The venue was a historic mansion that charged a hefty rental fee. There was a lavish open bar, a 5-course gourmet dinner, and oh, the dress. It was a designer gown she'd been raving about all morning. She spun in front of a full-length mirror in the bridal suite, the tiny beads on the fabric glimmering in the light. "Isn't it stunning?" Catherine exclaimed, twirling with joy. I smiled, but it felt forced. I was holding my 6-year-old daughter, Christine, on my hip, and my mind raced. Something felt off. Just last month, Catherine had told me she couldn't even be an emergency contact at Christine's preschool because she was broke. Now she was in a dress that cost more than my car. "It's beautiful, Samantha. You look perfect," I told her. Our mom raised an eyebrow. "I thought you said it was a sample dress." Catherine's smile faltered for a brief moment before returning even wider. "Right. A sample sale. That's what I meant." I watched her adjust her veil in the mirror, wanting to believe her. But something deep inside felt wrong. She had no money. Just a month ago. Where did it all come from? Christine tugged at my bridesmaid dress. "Mommy, that dress looks like the one from your special box." My heart sank. The special box Christine referred to was my grandmother's old jewelry box, where I had been secretly saving money for 3 years for Christine's ear surgery. She had a hearing issue, and insurance wouldn't cover all the costs. I had kept the money hidden because my ex-husband was still fighting me in court, and I knew he'd try to take it. "What special box, sweetie?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "The one with all the money pictures. The one that was empty. Last week." Everything around me felt as if it were closing in. The air turned heavy. I had noticed the box felt lighter recently, but I thought I had just misplaced it. Now it all made sense. My heart raced as I looked at Catherine. I didn't want to accept it, but deep down, I already knew the truth. When I checked the box a few days ago, I thought something was off. It had felt lighter, but with the wedding chaos, I didn't have time to count the money. So I brushed the thought aside. Now, standing in the bridal suite, it hit me again. "Catherine," I whispered, barely audible, "where did you really get the money for this wedding?" Her face drained of color, frozen like a statue. But before she could respond, our mother burst into the room, exuding her usual energy. 8 minutes until showtime," she announced cheerfully. "Everyone line up." The next hour felt surreal. I walked down the aisle but felt detached, standing through the ceremony with my mind racing. I smiled for the cameras as if everything were fine, but my chest felt tight. All I could think about was my sister spinning in a dress that might have been purchased with the money I had saved for my daughter's surgery. During the reception, my thoughts wouldn't quiet. I recalled Christine's words. Catherine had visited my house the weekend before, insisting on helping with wedding preparations. At one point, she claimed she was looking for my makeup bag and went upstairs. But now, looking back, she had been gone for nearly an hour. Then the DJ announced it was time for speeches. I glanced at Catherine. She was laughing with her new husband, radiating joy. They appeared to be the perfect couple, but I only saw the gleam of stolen happiness. The dress, the fancy food, the grand venue. None of it seemed to belong to someone who had been broke just weeks ago. Sitting beside me at the head table was my little girl, Christine. Her soft curls framed her face, and her tiny hearing aids were positioned behind her ears. They helped, but not sufficiently. The surgery I was saving for would finally provide her the opportunity to hear properly as she matured. The best man stood to give a toast, holding his champagne glass. But before he could speak, Christine pointed at Catherine's dress. "Mommy," she said softly, "it's just like the picture. The one from your special box. The one with all the money for my ears." The room fell silent. Over 280 people stared at us. Catherine froze, her glass suspended in midair. I took a deep breath and spoke loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Christine, what do you mean about Mommy's special box?" Christine didn't hesitate. "The box with the pictures of money. Annie Dorothy was counting them in your room last week. She put them in her purple bag." Catherine jumped up abruptly, her fancy dress making a loud swishing noise. "She's just a child," she exclaimed. "She doesn't know what she's saying." But Christine continued, her voice soft yet clear. "You said the pictures would help? Fix my ears, Mommy, but now they're gone. And Annie Dorothy has a pretty dress instead." Something inside me shattered. I thought of all those long nights in the hospital, the extra shifts I worked to save every penny, every little thing I sacrificed to set aside money for Christine's surgery, and now I was staring at the person who had taken it all for a wedding. I stood up slowly. The room had gone completely silent, all eyes on Catherine. "Do you want to explain to everyone how you suddenly had enough money for this wedding, or should I tell them about the $16,000 that disappeared from my daughter's surgery fund last week?" Gasps filled the room, and murmurs rippled among the guests. Catherine's new husband looked stunned, and our mother dropped her champagne glass, shattering it loudly on the marble floor. "I was going to pay it back," Catherine cried, tears welling in her eyes. "After the honeymoon." "You have to understand," I said, my voice breaking. "This was my dream wedding. My daughter's surgery was her dream, her only chance to hear better, to lead a normal life, and you took that from her. How could you?" The best man slowly sat down, speechless, the microphone still in his hand, forgotten. Catherine's husband, Timothy, stood stiffly beside her, his face pale. "What surgery fund?" he asked, his voice low but firm. "Catherine, what did you do?" I reached into my purse, my hands trembling, and pulled out my phone, opening the folder of photos where I documented every deposit made over the last 3 years. I showed the screen to Timothy. "Would you like to see the exact amount that went? Missing the same day you came over to help me prepare for the wedding?" My voice was filled with pain. Timothy stared at the photos, my logbook entries, a picture of my grandmother's empty jewelry box, and even a screenshot from my front door camera that clearly showed Catherine leaving with her purple handbag. $16,000, Timothy whispered. "You stole $16,000 from your niece's surgery fund for this wedding?" Catherine couldn't respond. Her makeup had run down her face, and all the lies she'd meticulously crafted around her perfect day were crumbling in front of everyone. She reached out, trying to grab Timothy's arm. "Baby, please, I can explain. I was desperate." "Desperate?" I said, holding Christine tightly in my arms. "You weren't desperate when you ordered the $3,000 bridesmaid dresses we had to pay for ourselves, or when you booked that 7-star honeymoon suite." Our mother, who had remained silent until now, finally spoke up, stepping between us with shaking hands. "There must be some mistake," she murmured. "Catherine would never do that." "Show them the video, Mommy," Christine softly suggested, her little voice somehow breaking through the tense silence. "The one from your special camera." Catherine's head snapped up. "What video?" I unlocked my phone and opened another file. After my divorce, I had installed security cameras around the house for safety. I never imagined I'd need them to protect us from my own sister. But there it was, clear video footage from last week, showing Catherine in my bedroom, quietly opening drawers and searching until she found my grandmother's antique jewelry box. The timestamp matched perfectly with when she claimed she was searching for my makeup bag. In the video, she opened the box, counted the money, and stuffed it into her purple bag before carefully putting the empty box back. "I installed the cameras to protect us from my ex," I said quietly, "but I guess I needed them for something else, too." Everyone watched in silence. The room felt completely still except for the sound of the video playing. The footage left no doubt. Timothy stepped back from Catherine, staring at the screen, and then pulled off his wedding ring, placing it on the table. I can't believe this. You told me your parents gave you the money. You said it was an early inheritance." I shook my head. "Mom and Dad can barely afford their mortgage. They refinanced the house last year just to stay afloat." Another lie, Catherine. Our father, who had been sitting in stunned silence, suddenly stood up. "The mortgage? How did you know about that?" "Because I've been helping them make their payments every month," I replied. "Well," Catherine told them she couldn't afford to help. Whispers spread throughout the room as guests turned to each other, shocked, witnessing the truth unraveling. Catherine's perfect wedding was disintegrating piece by piece. The web of lies she had woven was collapsing before everyone. "I'll pay it back," Catherine cried, her tears mixing with the black mascara, running down her cheeks and onto the dress she bought with stolen money. "I swear I'll fix it." But no one appeared convinced. "I'll get a loan, work extra shifts, anything," Catherine pleaded. "Please don't ruin my wedding day." Timothy let out a bitter laugh. "Ruin your wedding day? You did that yourself the moment you chose to start our marriage with lies and stealing." Just then, Christine gently tugged at my dress. "Mommy," she asked softly, "will I still get my new ears?" Her words sliced through the room's noise like a knife. You could feel the shift. The room fell silent again, save for the quiet sniffles of a few guests wiping their eyes. My daughter's simple wish to hear clearly like other kids had been sacrificed for someone else to enjoy champagne towers, centerpieces, and designer shoes. "What kind of surgery does she need?" Timothy asked, his tone shifting to serious, calm yet firm, like someone accustomed to dealing with the truth. "Cochlear implants," I explained. "Insurance will only cover part of the cost. We needed $16,000 more to pay for the surgery and recovery care. I've been saving for 3 years. Timothy reached into his jacket and pulled out his checkbook. "I'll write you a check right now," he said. "Call it a wedding gift, or more like a divorce settlement." Catherine gasped and rushed toward him. "Timothy, no. Please, we can fix this." "Fix what?" he replied, stepping away from her. "The stealing, the lying, the part where I find out my new wife took money meant to help a child." "Here," he said, handing me the check. "I'm making it. $21,000. The extra is for any legal fees and the pain this has caused." Then he turned to Catherine, the woman he had married less than 3 hours ago. "Catherine," he said, his voice cold and steady, "don't bother coming back to the house. I'll have your things sent to your mother's." As Timothy handed me the check, Catherine made one last desperate attempt. "It was just sitting there in that old box," she cried. "You didn't even need it right away. I was going to put it back before Christine's surgery." I looked directly at her, my voice steady. "Her surgery is scheduled for next month. I was going to surprise everyone with the news at Mom and Dad's anniversary dinner, but surprise, your lies have consequences." Catherine's face turned even paler. Her hand trembled, and she had no more words. The wedding planner, who had been standing silently nearby, finally spoke. "Should I tell the band to pack up?" Before anyone could respond, Christine spoke again, her little voice soft but clear despite her hearing issues. "Does this mean I get my new ears now, Mommy?" 3 months later, I sat in the hospital waiting room, clutching Christine's favorite stuffed bunny close to my chest. She was in surgery, finally getting her cochlear implants. My heart raced, but I felt grateful. Everything we endured, every tear, every truth had led us to this moment. Catherine's wedding had become the talk of the town. Everyone knew what had transpired. Timothy filed for an annulment the very next day, and Catherine moved back into our parents' house utterly humiliated, her dream day transformed into a nightmare. Timothy's check cleared swiftly. Thanks to him, we didn't just cover Christine's surgery costs, but we also arranged the best recovery care and therapy to help her adjust afterward. I never expected assistance from someone who was once part of the same painful mess, but life sometimes surprises you. "Caramel works in funny ways," I whispered to myself as the nurse emerged. "Mrs. Stephen," she said gently, "Christine's surgery went perfectly. She's in recovery now." I exhaled a breath I hadn't realized I was holding and followed the nurse down the bright hallway, my heart feeling lighter with every step. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Another message from Catherine. "Please let me come see Christine. I need to make things right." I didn't open it. I didn't respond, just as I hadn't answered the other messages, voicemails, and doorstep visits she had attempted over the last 3 months. Some wounds run too deep, some betrayals leave. Scars that no words can heal. As I entered Christine's hospital room, wrapped in soft bandages, she looked small, yet resilient. The doctor informed me her implants would be activated in a few weeks after her healing process. Christine opened her eyes and smiled faintly. "Mommy," she whispered, her voice sleepy, "did they give me my new ears?" I leaned down, kissed her, forehead, and smiled. "Yes, baby, and soon you'll be able to hear everything so clearly." As Christine slowly drifted back to sleep, I heard a commotion in the hallway, sounding like someone arguing. I stepped closer to the door, unable to believe what I heard. Catherine was out there, her voice raised at the nurse. "Ma'am, only immediate family is allowed in the recovery room." the nurse insisted firmly. I am family, Catherine snapped. I'm her aunt. Please just let me see her. I stepped into the hallway, gently closing the door behind me so Christine wouldn't hear. What are you doing here? I asked. Catherine looked terrible. Dark circles adorned her eyes. Her hair was messy, and she wore old, wrinkled pajamas. She didn't resemble the same person who once wore a sparkling dress at her wedding. Mom told me the surgery was today, she said quietly. I've been sitting in my car for hours, trying to work up the courage to come inside. To do what? I asked coldly. Steal her pain medicine? Take her implants and sell them for another fancy wedding? She winced. I deserve that. I deserve all of it. But please, I need to make things right. I let out a bitter laugh. Make things right? Timothy told me everything. You had been planning this for months. You searched my house multiple times for valuables before you found the money. That's not desperation, Catherine. That's planned. That's stealing. Catherine lowered her head and sat slowly on the floor against the wall. I know, she whispered. What I did was wrong. It was unforgivable. The therapist Mom made me see as helping me realize how messed up I've become, how I cared more about looking perfect than truly being a good person. I hurt you, and I hate what I did. I looked closely at her for the first time in a long while. This wasn't the proud, perfect sister I once knew. She was broken and lost. We had grown up sharing everything, our clothes, secrets, even our dreams. Somewhere along the way, she began chasing something fake, a life that appeared great on the outside but was filled with lies beneath. Christine asks about you sometimes, I admitted. She doesn't understand why Auntie Dorothy doesn't visit anymore. Tears streamed down Catherine's cheeks. What do you tell her? I tell her that sometimes grown-ups make big mistakes and need time to learn how to be better people. Catherine looked up at me, her voice barely a whisper. Are you really pressing charges? I hesitated, glancing back at Christine's door and then at Catherine sitting on the hospital floor, broken and ashamed. The silence between us spoke volumes. I shook my head slowly. Timothy's check covered everything, I said. But Catherine, the trust is gone. If you ever want to be part of our lives again, you'll have to rebuild it from the ground up. Catherine looked at me, her eyes filled with regret. How do I even start? Start by getting real help, I said. Not just the therapy Mom arranged. Find a legitimate program that will help you change. Get a job, pay Timothy back. Don't tell me you're sorry. Show me through your actions. Prove you understand how much you hurt us. Just then, a nurse appeared in the doorway. She's asking for you, Mrs. Stephen. I turned back to my sister. I have to go. Christine needs me. As I reached for the door handle, Catherine spoke one last time. Samantha, thank you for not pressing charges, and I'm sorry. I'm not just sorry for taking the money. I'm sorry for being the kind of person who could do that to her own niece. I nodded slowly, unsure if I could trust myself to say anything further just yet. Inside, Christine was sitting up slightly, her face lighting up when she saw me. Mommy, I heard voices. Was someone there? I walked to her bedside and gently smoothed her hair around the bandages. Just someone learning a very important lesson, sweetie. About magic ears? She asked with a sleepy smile. I chuckled softly and kissed her forehead. No, baby, about something even more important. How to be a better person. As Christine drifted back to sleep, I pulled out my phone and quickly typed a message to our mother. Catherine was here. Please help her get into a real outpatient program. Maybe if she's truly doing the work, we can discuss supervised visits in 7 months. I looked at Christine's peaceful face and felt a mix of sadness and hope. Sometimes life teaches us the hardest lessons in the most painful ways. Catherine had lost everything by chasing a picture-perfect day, but from the chaos she left behind, something good had grown. My daughter now had a chance to hear the world clearly for the first time, and it was all possible because of the downfall of someone who once prioritized image over love. As I sat in the hospital, reflecting on everything that had transpired, I realized that Catherine had wanted her wedding to be unforgettable, and it certainly was, just not in the way she had envisioned. In the end, her actions taught all of us something far more significant than any wedding speech could convey. They taught us that family means more than words, more than photos, more than one perfect day, and that trust, once broken, leaves scars that take far longer to heal than any surgery ever could. With that thought lingering in my mind, I focused on the present moment, knowing that Christine was on the path to a brighter future. I hoped that one day, perhaps, Catherine would find her way back into our lives, but for now, I needed to prioritize my daughter's healing. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for the journey ahead, ready to support Christine as she began to hear the world anew.